Hey everyone, and welcome to the very final review in this little series that I've put together where I review all of the Harry Potter books. So, of course, today we'll be reviewing Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, book number 7. I have a lot of good things to say, still have, my little nitpicks as usual, and as you know, this will be a spoiler-filled video, so let's just dive right in and not waste any more time. People usually complain that nothing happens in this book, that it's just, the book where the trio camps and we miss all the juicy Hogwarts scenes of them in class and all the hijinks that ensue. But honestly, I love the setup. I think it does a good job of mimicking, let's say, a student's end to their education process and their jump into the real world and applying all they've learned in school to the real world, to job hunting, to their professional careers. And in this case, I mean, the trio didn't technically end their education, they just dropped out of it. But still, what I love seeing in this book is how Harry, Ron, and Hermione apply everything they've learned to this search, this journey to find the Horcruxes and destroy them. I think it's awesome. It brings tension into the story. I think it brings a level of uncertainty also because there's this time limit because things are getting really bad. Voldemort is getting really powerful. He's infiltrated the ministry. And there's just time is running out, right? And the Order of the Phoenix defenses are running low. It's looking really bad. So it's a time sensitive situation. And all of this just culminates into this atmospheric tension where you're really waiting on these characters to push themselves into uncomfortable places and situations and see what they do. Like, I think it's a perfect place to leave a reader. You leave them wanting to see how their characters grow. It really puts the characters in a place where they have to grow quickly. So I really enjoy that. And yeah, I like them just sort of being independent, not being, looked upon by professors and not like feeling the expectation to, live up to those expectations from school officials and stuff. They're like really free and independent and like really becoming adults. So yeah, I really loved it and I liked their growth in this as well. Hermione, I mean, she's always been intelligent, but God, I loved Hermione in this book. She's brilliant. Like, she thinks ahead. She's not just book smart. She's really a forward thinker. She can see like 10 steps ahead of her and plan for what could go wrong, which is a little surprising that she hasn't mastered chess because I feel like she would be a great chess player, because that's exactly what skill set you need to be a good chess player. Anyway, but yeah, it's just, God, she's brilliant, and I love that she had, the foresight to put the swelling jinx on Harry so that people couldn't recognize him, so the Snatchers couldn't recognize him. And even the scene where the trio has to escape Xenophilius Lovegood's house and she hides Ron under the invisibility cloak. And at first I'm like, wait, why does he have to be under the cloak? Who cares? But then she reminds us all that actually he's supposed to be sick at home. If they see him, they're gonna know that he's lying, and they're maybe going to attack all of the Weasleys. So again, just she's brilliant. She's amazing, and it's not just being good at school that she's talented at. She actually has good analysis skills, good critical thinking skills, and the foresight to just be prepared for any situation. So love her in this book. Hermione is also sort of challenged a little bit. She can be a little rigid in terms of her acceptance of things that maybe don't seem logical. In this case, it's the Deathly Hallows. She dismisses it altogether for being, just mythology and folklore. and she thinks Xenophilius is kind of a fool for believing in any of this, and that anybody who believes this is just wasting their time. But in reality, those things did exist. Maybe calling them the Deathly Hallows is something that the fans of the Elder Wand and the Invisibility Cloak and the Resurrection Stone like term themselves and like build a community out of, but like the three items still existed. So yeah, it's interesting that Hermione, being a witch, living in this world where all these magical things are possible, like would somehow think it would be impossible for the Deathly Hallows to exist. Yeah, it just challenges her a little bit. I always like that. I always like a little bit of nuance to my characters. So yeah, just another way that the book has successfully done that, in my opinion. Ron was also given the opportunity to be more three-dimensional in this book. He is absolutely hilarious. I feel like this is the book where his humor shines. And, you know, he's finally allowed to just be really smart too. He's not just like the joke in the group. He's the one who remembers that the basilisks, their fangs are still in the Chamber of Secrets. He's the one who manages to like piece together something in Parseltongue to open the Chamber of Secrets, which, you know, I don't know how possible that is, but hey, whatever. Give Ron his moment. Fine. And I absolutely loved that he was the one to want to save the house elves in Hogwarts. He's the one who remembers that they're stuck in the kitchens, that maybe someone should go and get them out. Amazing. He's been the one always roasting all of the house elves throughout the series, and he's the one who was laughing at SPEW and Hermione's activism to try to free the house elves. He's always the one against that, but look, he has been listening the whole time. He's just a little too proud to actually admit that he cares, until this moment. So bravo on him. Yeah, I like seeing the characters do something a little bit unexpected. And yeah, I love that he was just treated a little bit more fairly, a little bit more like a well-rounded person here. And yeah, it proves that he has been listening to what people have told him about in the previous books. Yeah, a good little character development moment for him. I really liked the way that the Dursleys left the Harry Potter story officially, very awkwardly, but in their awkwardness, you can obviously tell that they, in their own sort of twisted, cold way, do care about Harry, and that maybe this harshness is more of a front than, you know, it actually is. And Dudley in particular, the way that he sort of reaches out to Harry, again, in very awkward terms, but it ends up being a little bit endearing. It puts his, you know, bully character into perspective. You can tell that he, as much as he made fun of Harry at this moment in time, now knowing a little bit more about his cousin's backstory and what he has to deal with, now he's, you know, caring about him. Now, having said that, I also don't know how great it is to write a character who's been a bully, who suddenly like has a bit of a redemption. Not great, but still, I think it makes sense for his own character. I mean, he's been sort of shaped by how cruel his parents are, similarly to Draco. So yeah, he's young, he still has time to grow, and at least for that moment, he reached out to Harry and had a little bit of a moment. Wished that was extended to Petunia. I think one of those deleted scenes from the movie version was better, in terms of just giving her a moment to break down her rough facade. You know, I think in that deleted scene in the movie, she says to Harry something like, you know, you didn't just lose a mother that day, I lost a sister. So it puts things into perspective. And I think, yeah, that scene needed a little bit more of that for Petunia. But still, just nice, and I think fit their characters the way that they were still a little bit awkward about the exchange. The book really complicates some characters that we have been loving up to this point. Dumbledore, namely, with The Life and Lies of Albus Dumbledore by Rita Skeeter, which, has its fair share of gossip elements, but for the most part is pretty true. I guess, I don't know. I wish there was like a real life companion book that was The Life and Lies of Albus Dumbledore. I don't know why that never happened. Instead, we get like Quidditch Through the Ages. I mean, who asked for Quidditch Through the Ages? I'm not sure. So we learn a little bit more about Dumbledore's very tragic and complicated backstory, how he and Grindelwald teamed together to essentially seek out the very materials that would make them the most powerful wizards, that would put them in their rightful place and keep, muggles in their rightful place, which, kind of goes against everything we've thought about Dumbledore. He's always been the one championing muggle rights and muggle wizard relations, but no, he's as flawed and greedy, I guess, as other people. And maybe because he learned from his mistakes, he's so fond of teaching Harry and all the Hogwarts students to basically not do what he did, not to search for power, not to lust for power or fame, or, just instead focus on love and unity and trying to learn about people who are different than you. We learn a little bit about his brother, Aberforth or Aberforth, I'm not entirely sure how you're supposed to pronounce it, about his sister, Ariana, her death, and his, search for the Deathly Hallows. I also really liked that little touch at the end of the book where Harry is in this final confrontation with Voldemort. He does the Dumbledore thing where he calls Voldemort Tom Riddle, just a way of bringing the moment back down to the boy before he became this monster. It's something Dumbledore always did, and Harry does it at the very end, so just a nice little touch. Dobby's death is by far one of the saddest moments in the entire series. I loved the way that it was done. It's beautiful. Makes me teary each and every time, as does the moment where Hagrid is just bawling over Harry and bringing him, into the rubble of the school, so everybody can see him. Oh gosh, it's so sad. It's such a precious moment. And, harkens back to the very beginning of the series when Hagrid is the one delivering Harry to the Dursleys. I also really liked the little touch of Harry becoming the godfather to Lupin's son. Very sweet. And again, just another full circle moment. I like all these full circle moments. Harkens back to obviously Sirius and Harry and their relationship. So maybe Harry and, Lupin's son will have that bond as well. The thing that I love the most about this book is how it all comes together. Even now, reading it, knowing exactly what happens, knowing all the twists, I'm still just wowed by how much thought went into this, into, tracing the Elder Wand and having that reveal at the very, very, very end, to show that, Harry is the true owner of the Elder Wand, and it wasn't Severus Snape like Voldemort thought. It just, this orchestration of the plot is brilliant to me, and I will never be not amazed by it. I'm floored by how much planning went into it, and it just feels so sturdy and well thought out. The sweeping, the grand plot points. There are some, flaws, but overall, just how the story fit together and how all the pieces fit together is just really brilliant, and I love it. I think it's one of the main strengths of Deathly Hallows. Chapter 10, Creature's Tale, in particular, showcases that planning and forethought and how everything fit together, and also how the revelations are quite tragic. I feel like how they built up this big finale, it was all worth it to me. Even, the sadness of knowing the creature was used and disposed by Voldemort just to get his plan going, just to test the the obstacles in the cave, to get the locket. Just knowing all those sad parts and knowing that the locket was fake and all of that, knowing how difficult this journey is really going to be to kill Voldemort, like all of that weighs you down, but it makes for the finale to be even more impressive by the end of it. So yeah, excellent chapter 10. And yeah, just the plotting is really something. I think maybe you don't like the Harry Potter series. I don't know. Maybe you don't like the writing, but it's pretty masterful in terms of plot, I would say. One of the things that I didn't totally love, and honestly, I realized this during this reread this time around, is the lazy way that apparition is explained, where now you have to have a wand on you to disapparate or to apparate. And the part where I realized this was kind of lazy storytelling was in the very detailed scene of the Potters about to be attacked by Voldemort. It's like the whole time I'm reading it, I'm thinking, literally just apparate, like you could just apparate, leave. I mean, it happens all throughout Harry Potter, where, people just suddenly disappear. Fred and George are sort of constantly doing this to annoy Molly. If they can do it, then, the whole time I'm thinking, I mean, it's so easy, just leave. And when reading, you can sort of tell that J.K. Rowling came up with this idea of having to apparate when you have a wand on you, and only that way, like any other way you can't actually apparate or disapparate. You can tell that she sort of randomly came up with this after realizing the loophole in her own plot. And I don't know, it feels like a very lazy thing to do. Like, was that really the best thing you can come up with for why in this heated moment when they're about to be attacked, where clearly this evil guy is going to kill you because he's said he's going to, and he's going to kill your kid, that you're just going to forget your wand? Like, it just doesn't really make sense for the urgency of the moment that these characters would, one, forget their wand, and two, that their skills would depend so much on having the wand literally attached to their bodies. Book 7 just digs its own grave in terms of how it portrays Slytherins fairly. From book 1, they're always the villains. It's sort of improved in the other books, still not great, but they meaning J.K. Rowling, at least tried to have some Gryffindors make mistakes, not be perfect. Have some Ravenclaws and Hufflepuffs be, proud and jealous, and make them a little bit more three-dimensional. And Slytherins too, in terms of Professor Slughorn. Even though he's not the best character, he's, on the good side. He's trying to defend Hogwarts, and he's against Voldemort, and, he's ostensibly changed and grown and matured, and now is trying to fight for good. But yeah, book 7 just sort of throws all that away. We got this really annoying moment with Professor McGonagall basically telling Professor Slughorn to round up Slytherins and once and for all see where their loyalties lie. And it's like, why only the Slytherins? You're telling me that, like, all the Gryffindors, all the Ravenclaws, all the Hufflepuffs are just on the good side, and it's only the Slytherins that are on Voldemort's side? It's just unrealistic for a war type setting. Yeah, Voldemort also, like, talks to Lucius Malfoy about how, he was the one who didn't come for him, but all the other Slytherins did. And again, it's just, I hate it. I hate it. Like, we could have had just one moment where all the houses were treated fairly. But no, we just get this, again, kind of lazy writing in terms of fair house portrayals. Like, I feel like every house should be capable of creating a bad wizard as equally as it could be responsible for creating and developing great wizards. Speaking of a Slytherin who deserved a little bit better, even though he has been kind of trash the entire series, is Draco Malfoy. You know, it's not a hot take. It's definitely not the first time that fans have pointed this out, but I feel like he deserved a better redemption story, in the same way that Neville, I think, deserved a more of a hero's arc by the end of book 7, by the end of the series. But in terms of Draco, I mean, you can tell in this book that he's really struggling internally with whether to please his parents, who are at this point really on the bad side, on Voldemort's side, because they're scared of what he could do to them, not really even for the cause anymore. They're just desperate to stay alive and to protect Draco. And then, yeah, Draco is just loyal to the Malfoys. It's evident that he feels bad for Harry and he wants to be on the good side, on Dumbledore's side, on the side of the people fighting against this really prejudiced ideology that Voldemort is trying to champion. The book teases that he's going to have this moment where he proclaims that he's with Harry, that he's going to help Harry. But no, all it does is like have him and the Malfoys just leave. They escape. We don't really know what they're up to except in the epilogue where Harry like nods at Draco, like, I guess all things are fine now, their kids are in Hogwarts, everything's cool, but like, wouldn't it have been awesome to have Draco like stand up to Voldemort in some way, publicly in front of all the other students, in front of all the other Slytherins too, kind of having a moment for himself to, yeah, redeem himself from all the nonsense that he's done in the past 6 books. Same for Neville. I've quite liked reviews that I've seen that say Neville should have been the one to finish the Horcrux adventure, and that Harry should have died. And actually, I feel like that's a much better arc. I think that would have provided more for Neville to do in the story, and sure, it's always tough to write that your protagonist has died, to kill them off, but it just would have been more emotionally satisfying, because one of the lessons of this book is to not feel comfortable keeping important information to yourself about how important it is to trust other people, to not be so skeptical and not be so condescending and judgmental like Dumbledore was. He very much didn't trust that other people were going to get things as quickly as he did. And he passed this on to Harry, who also could only tell Ron and Hermione about his plans for the Horcruxes, when he easily could have told other members of Dumbledore's army, the Order of the Phoenix, who were on his side and probably would have helped him get those Horcruxes much sooner to avoid this epic battle in the end and all these needless deaths, if he had just trusted other people and been open to sharing what he knew. And because that lesson was so important for book 7, I think it would have made sense to have Neville be the one to continue the hunt for the Horcruxes after Harry, because Harry really learned that lesson. He's now shared the information about Nagini and the sort of Gryffindor with Neville, who now can do something about it in case Harry dies. It would have been also a cool way to tie it into the fact that he could have also been the chosen one had Voldemort not chosen Harry. for their own similarities. So yeah, it just would have been a more full circle moment and just a better end. I also thought that the last line of the book where Harry dreams of going to Gryffindor Tower to sleep, and he wants to like fetch Creature to make him a sandwich. At what point has Harry been someone to demand the attention of house elves? Like, he's always sort of felt off about having people serve him. He's never asked Dobby to make him food. He's never had Creature make him anything. It's always been Creature who has offered his services gladly in book 7, because of how the trio has treated him and given him the fake locket. It just felt out of place. I think it was supposed to be this lighthearted way to end a very dramatic book, but it didn't feel right for Harry's character or for the entire story of House Elf liberation. You know, they've made such a huge point in this book to, yeah, give Creature a kind of nicer storyline, to give the House Elves something to fight for in the Battle of Hogwarts, just to end it with, oh, ha ha ha, let's have Creature like make me a sandwich. It doesn't fit, it's lame, it's not funny, it's dumb. Something else is that I still feel Snape's flashback in the Prince's Tale chapter is a little bit too quick. It's just rushed over, and I know it has to be because it all has to fit in one chapter, but I don't know, there are so many questions that I want answered that we're obviously never going to know now, because the focus now is on the prequels of Harry Potter and not on really branching any new stories from like the main cast here. Something I like would love to know more about is how Snape even became interested in joining the Death Eaters. It just seems like a drastic thing to want to go into. Like, how was he radicalized? I know he was bullied, but I don't know, it's too like psychology 101 to say like, oh, you know, he's bullied, he's an outcast, so therefore he wants to join the group that punishes the very people that hurt him. It's just, he was like very young to want to be a Death Eater. So yeah, I wanted more of his backstory fleshed out fully, but instead we just get like, you know, the wisps of memories. It's still a powerful moment in the story. It's the big twist that nobody expected. But yeah, you know, rereading it, it's just like, I want more. I want more answers. Too many questions, not enough answers. And that concludes my reviews of all the Harry Potter books. Thank you so much for watching and sticking with me. I know there are a lot of books to have gone through, and I've talked a lot. I know these videos have been quite long, but yeah, hopefully you enjoyed what I've had to say. You don't totally hate my nitpicks of the series. They're all in good fun. I still really love this series, and I am most definitely going to reread it again. And I've always wanted to have an official review out, but you know, it never could happen in the past, but all things came together and I was able to finally do that this year. And yeah, just in time for the new Fantastic Beasts movie. So yeah, I'm really excited. It's been a pleasure, and yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed the journey. Thanks again for watching. Like and subscribe if you so choose to do, and yeah, have a great day and see you in my next video. Not going to be Harry Potter related probably, but yeah, hopefully people are still interested to hear my thoughts on some books that I'm reading. Yeah, thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.